I thought moving out would fix everything. New apartment, new job, new version of me who doesn't text his ex at 2 a.m. just to say whatever. So there I was. Boxes everywhere, takeout on the counter, music blasting while I tried to convince myself that eating instant noodles off a cardboard box was freedom. The place wasn't fancy. Tiny kitchen, creaky floor, window that refused to close all the way. But it was mine. Quiet. Peaceful. No arguments. No drama. No... Wait, was that laughter? I froze halfway through unpacking my plates. The wall next to me hummed with voices. Deep. Familiar. I blinked. No way in hell. I pressed my ear to the wall like a creep. It couldn't be him. Not him. He said he was leaving the city. Said, "You'll never have to see me again, Nate." I'd replayed that line enough times to quote it in my sleep. But the laugh on the other side of the wall, I'd know it anywhere. It was the kind that got under your skin. The kind that used to make me laugh even when I was mad. The kind that used to mean he's home. My heart did that stupid skip thing it always did when I was about to do something dumb. I walked to the window slowly, praying I was wrong. And then I saw the moving truck. And him. Michael. Same blonde hair, same easy grin, same stupidly perfect posture like he'd just walked out of a toothpaste ad. Laughing with the movers, like the universe didn't just throw a pie in my face. I nearly dropped my coffee. Nope, this isn't happening. I ducked back behind the curtain like a spy in a bad rom-com. Maybe it wasn't him. Maybe he just looked like him. Lots of people are tall, lean, and look like heartbreak wrapped in denim, right? Wrong. Because then he turned and smiled. Right. At me. Eye contact. Through the window. I froze. He waved. Like it was nothing. Like we didn't almost kill each other with words 6 months ago. I waved back. Awkward, robotic. The international sign for please evaporate. He grinned wider. Mouthed something like, "Hey, neighbor." And just like that, my peaceful new life, dead on arrival. Flashback. The thing about memories, they don't knock before barging in. 1 second, I'm standing there at the window, watching Michael smile like a summer I thought was over. And the next, I'm right back at the beginning. We met in the most cliché way possible. Coffee spill, bad day, shared apology over lattes. He said, "Guess fate owes us caffeine." I said, "Guess fate needs to pay for my dry cleaning." He laughed, and that was it. That laugh, it hooked into me before I even realized. He was warm, confident, the kind of guy who made the world tilt toward him without trying. And I was the idiot who tilted right along. We were good at first, the kind of good that makes other people roll their eyes. Cooking together, dancing in the kitchen, stupid inside jokes no one else got. He'd hum when he worked, and I'd tease him for being a walking musical. We'd stay up too late talking about nothing and everything. And I swear, for a while, it felt like we were building something real. But love gets messy when you stop saying what you mean. He started working more. Just a few late nights. I started overthinking. Just wondering where you are. Little cracks. Little lies. Arguments that started over toothpaste and ended with slammed doors. He'd say, "You never trust me." I'd say, "You never tell me the truth." And maybe we were both right. The night it ended, it was raining. Of course, it was raining. He stood by the door with his bag, soaked and silent. "So that's it?" I'd said. "You want me to stay?" He'd asked, voice low. And I didn't answer. I wanted to. God, I did. But pride is louder than heartbreak, so he said it instead. "You'll never have to see me again." And he left now, 6 months later. He's standing outside my window, smiling like we never shattered. Like time hit pause and forgot to tell me. I close the curtain. Take a deep breath. Tell myself it doesn't matter. Tell myself I'm fine. Except my heart doesn't believe me. It never really did. Flashback ends. The next day. The next morning, I told myself I wasn't going to look outside. I wasn't going to care what he was doing. I was going to be a mature adult, drink my coffee, and move on with my peaceful, ex-free life. Spoiler, I looked outside. He was there. Again. Leaning against the moving truck, laughing with one of the building staff like he owned the damn place. I swore under my breath, threw on a hoodie, and decided I had to take the trash out right that second. Definitely not to confirm if the universe was actively mocking me. The hallway smelled like paint and rain. My heart was pounding like I'd been running, though all I was doing was trying to look casual with a trash bag and crippling anxiety. And then, his door opened. He stepped out holding a plant. A plant, of all things. The man couldn't keep a relationship alive, but suddenly he's a gardener? He spotted me instantly. His face lit up like the sun had come out just to annoy me. Well, well, look who's here. I froze. The trash bag hit my leg with a soft thud. Hey, I said, way too flat. Didn't know you were moving in. Surprise, he said, grin widening. Small world, huh? Small nightmare, I muttered. He laughed. That same laugh I used to love and now wanted to file a noise complaint against. You look good, he added, eyes trailing over me just long enough to be infuriating. New job? New haircut? New life, I shot back. You're about 6 months late to it. He chuckled softly, no apology in sight. Guess I'm just on time then. God, he still had that voice. Low, warm, too familiar. Every word felt like muscle memory. I tried to step past him, but he shifted, blocking my way just slightly. Not enough to be rude, just enough to remind me that he could still read me. So, he said lightly, neighbors now. That should be fun. Fun, I repeated, deadpan. Yeah, like dental surgery. He smirked, eyes sparkling the way they always did right before he said something that would make me want to throw a pillow at him. Come on, Nate. You missed me a little. And there it was. The old nickname, slipping out like he'd never stopped using it. It hit me right in the gut. I forced a smile. Sure. Right between the flu and food poisoning. He laughed again, shaking his head. Still funny. Still dramatic. And you're still impossible, I said. Guess not everything changes. He held my gaze for a second too long. The kind of look that used to end in a kiss. This time, it ended with me mumbling something about recycling and marching off like I hadn't just forgotten how to breathe. Back in my apartment, I locked the door, leaned against it, and groaned. So much for peace. Now every sound through that paper-thin wall, his music, his laugh, even his stupid humming, wasn't just noise. It was a memory. It was temptation. It was trouble I wasn't supposed to want again. I turned up my own music, loud enough to drown him out, but the truth? I was listening. And I hated that part of me that still wanted to hear more. A few days later. I told myself it was fine, I could coexist with my ex. People do it all the time. Probably. Somewhere. But then I realized coexistence meant hearing his playlist through my wall at 11 p.m. The same playlist he used to make breakfast to. The same one we used to dance to in our kitchen when life still made sense. So yeah. I broke. I cranked my own speaker. Hit play on We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together. And let Taylor Swift do the talking. Petty? Maybe. Therapeutic? Absolutely. By the end of the week, we were full on at war. It started small, harmless, stupid things. Like the parking spot incident. I'd been using the spot next to the building entrance. It wasn't labeled, and I got there first. But the next day, his car was there. Centered perfectly, like a middle finger on wheels. So I left a note on his windshield. Cute car, shame about the driver's personality. The next day, he replied, "Same note, flipped over. At least my personality fits in a parking line." I nearly choked on my coffee. Then came the Amazon debacle. I ordered a new blender. He accidentally picked it up. Next thing I know, I'm staring at a text from him. "Michael, this is yours." Photo of my blender on his counter. Me. "Yes, Michael. Cool. I made smoothies." "Thanks, neighbor," I wanted to scream. Instead, I ordered noise-canceling headphones. He signed for those too. Our accidental run-ins became routine. Laundry room, mailbox, hallway, elevator. Every time I'd tell myself to act chill. Every time he'd find a new way to make that impossible. Like one morning, I caught him leaving his apartment in nothing but sweatpants and a half-buttoned shirt. He looked at me, smirked. "Morning, Nate." "Button your shirt," I muttered. "Why? You didn't mind it before." I nearly dropped my coffee. "It's 8 in the morning." "Exactly. Great time to remind you what you're missing." I walked away before I said something I couldn't take back, but I didn't stop thinking about it all day. Or that stupid smirk. Or the way his voice dipped low when he teased me. Sometimes I'd hear him laughing late at night through that thin wall that separated us now. A wall that used to be nothing but air. And when the laughter stopped, I'd stare at my ceiling, wondering if he was thinking about me too, wondering if the silence hurt him the way it hurt me. But then he'd play some upbeat song, and I'd tell myself he'd moved on, that I needed to stop being pathetic. A few nights later, I ran into him again. Literally. The elevator doors opened, and there he was, holding groceries. I tried to step out. He tried to step in, a bag of oranges everywhere. We both crouched, reaching for the same orange at the same time. Our fingers brushed. I froze. So did he. For a second, it felt like we were back in that old kitchen again, fighting over the last cookie, laughing like idiots. But then, I pulled back. "Guess some things never change," I muttered. "Yeah," he said softly, eyes unreadable. "Like us always making a mess." He smiled faintly, and I felt that old ache again. The one I swore I'd outgrown. I shoved the orange into his bag and walked off before my heart could do something reckless. By week 2, everyone in the building probably thought we were flirting or feuding. Honestly, even I couldn't tell the difference anymore. One moment, I was rolling my eyes at him through the mail slot. Next, I was replaying our conversations in my head like some masochist. He was everywhere. In the hall, in my playlists, in the stupid coffee shop downstairs where he now coincidentally got his morning latte. And no matter how hard I tried to pretend he didn't affect me, every glance, every smirk, every casual, "Hey Nate," chipped away at the wall I'd built, a wall that felt thinner every day. Like our apartments. Like our distance. And I had no idea what would break first. The wall or me. A few weeks later, it started with thunder. That low, distant rumble that feels like the sky is clearing its throat before chaos. I was halfway through microwaving dinner when the lights flickered once, twice, then died. The microwave beeped its death note. Silence. Darkness. "Perfect," I muttered. "Of course." I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and opened the door into the hallway. The emergency lights were out too. Everything smelled faintly of rain and damp carpet. And then I heard a door creak. His door. Of course, because the universe wasn't content ruining my noodles. It had to ruin my peace too. "Hey." Michael's voice came from the dark. A little closer than I expected, I turned, and my light caught him mid-step, barefoot, hair damp, white t-shirt clinging to him like the storm followed him inside. "You okay?" he asked, easy, casual, like we were just two neighbors making small talk. I wanted to roll my eyes, but my throat was suddenly dry. "Define okay," I said. "Lost power, lost dinner, possibly losing my mind." He smiled, faint, Tired? At least you haven't lost your sarcasm. I leaned against the wall. Don't need light for that. We stood there, flashlights flickering, thunder shaking the windows. It was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you hear everything you've been avoiding. I don't even know who started it. Maybe it was the way he looked at me. Like he was trying to read something behind my eyes. Maybe it was me, because I couldn't keep pretending none of this mattered. But suddenly I said, "You left." He blinked. "What?" "You left," I repeated, louder this time. "You said I'd never have to see you again. And now you're—" I waved toward his apartment, right there, like nothing ever happened. His jaw tightened. "You told me to go. I told you I needed space. You said you were done." Lightning flashed. For a second, the whole hallway glowed white, and I could see his face clearly angry, hurt, familiar. "You didn't have to actually listen," I said, voice cracking more than I wanted. The thunder swallowed the silence that followed. He stepped closer. Not enough to touch. Just enough that I could feel the warmth radiating off him. "What was I supposed to do, Nate?" His voice dropped. Rougher now. "Stay and watch you hate me a little more every day?" "I never hated you." "Then what was all that fighting for?" I didn't have an answer. Not one that didn't sound like because I was scared. We stood there. Rain pattering against the windows. Power still dead. Hearts louder than the storm, and maybe it was the dark. Or the exhaustion. Or the fact that I was so damn tired of pretending I didn't still feel everything. But when he whispered, "Tell me you don't miss me," I couldn't because I did. Every stupid, complicated part of me still did. He reached out, slow, like testing a wire that might burn him, and brushed his fingers against my arm. And that was it. The tension snapped. The next second I was kissing him. Or he was kissing me. It didn't matter who started it. It was desperate, angry, soaked in lightning and history. Months of silence pour out all at once. His hands tangled in my hair. Mine clutched his shirt like I was holding on for balance. It felt too good, too real, too wrong. When we finally pulled back, we were both breathing. Hard, staring like we couldn't quite believe it had happened. I started. "A mistake," he said quickly. I nodded, even though my heart didn't. "Yeah, big mistake." We both just stood there, dripping, silent, pretending to catch our breath. But I could feel it. That magnetic pull still there, alive and dangerous. A storm neither of us could turn off. Next morning. I woke up the next morning pretending I'd dreamed the whole thing. The storm, the blackout, the yelling. The kiss. Especially the kiss. I made coffee, scrolled through emails, stared at my phone screen like caffeine could erase him. It couldn't. Because every time I closed my eyes, I still felt it. His hands, the heat, the way his breath hitched right before he kissed me back. So yeah, I was in trouble. By evening, I'd convinced myself it didn't mean anything. We were two people trapped in a storm, high on nostalgia and bad decisions. It was a glitch in the system. That's all. Except now, every time I heard him through the wall, my heart did that thing again, like it couldn't tell the difference between love and electricity. 2 nights later, I heard laughter. Not his. Someone else's. A man's voice. Deep. Confident. It came from his apartment, through that same thin wall. My stomach twisted before my brain caught up. I told myself it didn't matter. I turned on the TV louder. Then louder again. Didn't help. I could still hear him. Laughing, talking. That familiar warmth in his tone he used to save for me. I stared at the ceiling and muttered, "He can do whatever he wants." Except apparently, he couldn't. Because 5 minutes later, I was outside, pretending I just happened to be taking out the trash again. His door opened right as I passed. Michael looked surprised, then amused. The guy beside him, tall and handsome, smiled politely before leaving. "Busy night?" I asked, voice way too casual. "Just catching up with an old friend," he said. "Oh yeah, didn't sound like catching up, sounded like cardio." He laughed, eyes narrowing. "Jealous?" "Disgusted." "Same thing with you." I scoffed, turned to leave. But he added softly, "You could have just knocked if you wanted to see me. Please. You're not that interesting." "Then why do you keep finding excuses to run into me?" I didn't have an answer, just a heartbeat that wouldn't slow down. The next day, I decided to give the universe a taste of its own medicine. I went out for coffee with this guy from work. Nice, funny, completely not my type, but hey, distraction works wonders. Except when we got back to my building, guess who was leaning against the elevator, holding his mail, pretending to read it? Michael looked up, eyes flicking from me to the guy beside me, to the takeout cups in our hands. His jaw tightened. "New neighbor orientation?" he asked dryly. "Nope," I said. "Date?" He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Good for you." Then he walked off. I told myself I didn't care. 2 hours later, I heard a loud thud against the wall. Then another. Then his music started playing. Louder than usual, something fast, aggressive, angry. I smiled to myself. "Real mature," I whispered. But a small, traitorous part of me liked it. That proof that I still got under his skin. Days blurred into that strange dance. Avoidance mixed with obsession. We didn't talk. Didn't text. But the air between our walls buzzed with everything we weren't saying. And then, one night, I found a note under my door. His handwriting. "You said I never fight for anything, so I came back to prove you wrong." I read it twice. 3 times. My chest felt tight. Angry. Confused. Hopeful all at once. What the hell was I supposed to do with that? Frame it? Burn it? Text him back? I didn't do any of those things. I just sat there on the floor, note in my lap, wondering when moving on turned into running in circles. Later that night. It was almost midnight when he knocked 3 soft taps. Hesitant. Like he wasn't sure I'd open the door. I almost didn't. Almost let him stand out there. The way I once waited for him. But curiosity is a stubborn thing, so I opened it. There he was, Michael. Hair still damp from a shower, hoodie half-zipped, eyes a little red like he'd been thinking too hard or drinking too much or both. "You left this in my mailbox," he said. It was the note. His note. Folded and refolded like it had been burning a hole in his pocket. "You wanted me to read it?" I asked. "I wanted you to believe it." His voice was quiet, but there was something in it. That crack people get when they've been holding too much back for too long. I leaned against the door frame. "You said you came back to prove me wrong. So go ahead, Michael. Prove it." He sighed, stepping closer. The hallway light caught his face. The soft shadow of stubble. The tension in his jaw. "You want honesty?" he said. "I want closure. Then here's the truth. I never stopped thinking about you." And there it was. The sentence I'd been dying to hear and dreading all at once. "You don't get to say that," I said. "Not after you walked out." "I had to walk out." "No, you chose to." "Because you wouldn't let me in anymore, Nathan." His voice cracked. Mine followed. "You shut down every time I tried to fix things," I snapped. "You made me feel like loving me was some kind of chore. Because it was hard, okay? You wanted everything perfect. And when it wasn't, you pushed me away." Silence. Just breathing. Harsh. Uneven. We were both shaking, both right, both wrong. "So, why are you here now?" I asked finally. He looked at me like the answer hurt. "Because I missed home." This, I gestured between us, wasn't home. It was a minefield. "It was both," he said softly. and I can't stop walking back into it. I wanted to tell him to leave, wanted to slam the door, but then he took another step, too close, too familiar, and suddenly I couldn't move. "You shouldn't still have this effect on me," I whispered. "Then stop letting me," he murmured. "You think it's that easy?" "No," he said. "That's why I'm here." And then he kissed me. Not the angry kind, not the desperate kind, the kind that remembers. Soft, careful, like he was afraid I'd disappear if he pressed too hard I didn't pull away. Not at first. When I finally did, we were both breathless. Too much between us, too little space. "This doesn't fix anything," I said, voice trembling. "I know." "Then why?" "Because I needed to remember what it felt like to be right about something." He turned to leave, and this time I didn't stop him. When the door closed, I sank to the floor again. Same spot as before. Same mess of emotions clawing through my chest. Except now, I couldn't pretend anymore I wasn't fine. I wasn't over him. And worst of all, he knew it. 3 days later. It had been 3 days since the kiss. 3 sleepless, torturous days. I'd replayed it more times than I wanted to admit. Every second. Every inhale. The way his thumb brushed my jaw like muscle memory. Every time I tried to forget, something would drag me back. The faint sound of his laugh through the wall. His footsteps. His stupid late-night humming when he couldn't sleep. It was like the universe had turned him into background noise I couldn't mute. I told myself I was fine. I told my friends I was fine. I told my reflection I was definitely fine. But fine people don't stop breathing when they hear a soft knock next door. Rain again. It always had to be rain with us. It was pouring outside, thunder rolling low in the distance, the kind of night that made the world feel too small. And then, a loud thud through the wall, followed by muffled cursing. I froze. Then came the second sound. Water rushing. Too loud. Too fast, I didn't think. I just ran. When I pushed open his door, the first thing I saw was the water. Ankle deep, spilling from the bathroom, flooding the living room. The second thing was him, kneeling by the sink, hands soaked, trying to twist the valve shut. "Jesus, Michael," I shouted, wading in. "You're supposed to call maintenance, not wrestle plumbing." He looked up, dripping wet, hair sticking to his forehead, eyes wide in that dazed, half-panicked way. "Didn't want to bother anyone," he said breathlessly. "Yeah, because flooding the floor is way less inconvenient." I grabbed a wrench, helped him twist the valve until it finally clicked. The rush stopped, leaving only our ragged breathing and the sound of rain hammering the windows. We stood there drenched and panting, surrounded by silence. My pulse refused to slow down. His eyes found mine. Tired, guilty, soft in a way that made me forget how to stay angry. "You shouldn't have come," he said quietly. "You shouldn't live next door," I shot back. He laughed weakly. "Fair point." The lights flickered, then went out. Again. Of course. Because why not add darkness to the list? For a moment, we just stood there. The storm outside, the dark around us, and all the things we hadn't said filling the air between. "Nathan," he said after a long pause, "you can hate me all you want, but I didn't come back to ruin your peace." "Then why did you come back?" I whispered. He swallowed hard, because every time I tried to move on, it felt like lying. I wanted to look away. I didn't. He stepped closer, slow, careful, like approaching a wounded animal. "You think I didn't miss you?" he said. "You think it was easy pretending I didn't care? You didn't pretend, Michael. You left. I left because I thought I was bad for you." That stung more than I expected. "You don't get to decide what's bad for me." "I do when it's me," he said, voice cracking. "You were trying to fix everything. Your job, your family, me. And I kept breaking under it. I didn't know how to be enough for you." The words hit like a gut punch. Because once upon a time, I'd said the same thing to myself over and over. The lights flickered back on, dim, warm. We were standing inches apart, water pooling around us, rain glowing through the window like liquid glass. I could have stepped back. I didn't. You can't just show up next door and expect me to forget, I whispered. I don't want you to forget, he said, eyes burning into mine. I just want a chance to do it right this time. He looked terrified, hopeful, real. And I hated that I could feel my walls start to crumble all over again. My voice was shaking. You think one kiss fixes all that? No, he said softly, but maybe it's a start. And before I could decide whether to yell or to leave, he reached out, slowly, and brushed my hand. Just that, a touch. But it felt like being struck by lightning. I could feel the storm outside, the water under our feet, the weight of everything between us. And when I finally met his gaze, I realized something awful and beautiful all at once. I wasn't over him. I might never be. The power flickered again, but this time we didn't move. He leaned in, hesitant, trembling, and I let him. When his lips touched mine, it wasn't like before. It wasn't angry. It wasn't desperate. It was quiet. It was forgiveness trying to take shape. It was home, rebuilt, one breath at a time. They stayed like that, soaked, silent, holding each other in the flickering light, until the storm finally began to fade. And maybe it wasn't perfect. Maybe it was doomed to fall apart again. But for the first time in a long time, it felt like they weren't running anymore. Next morning. The world looked different in the morning. Sunlight spilled through the window like it had no idea the world had almost ended last night. The storm had passed, outside at least. Inside, it just felt quieter, softer. Michael was asleep on the couch, head tilted back, mouth slightly open, hair still damp. He looked peaceful for once, like someone who'd finally stopped running. The power was back. The floor was a mess. There were towels everywhere, my hoodie draped over his shoulders, and 2 mugs of half-drunk coffee on the table that had somehow survived the flood. I stood there for a while, just watching him. It was stupid, really. How something as simple as morning light could make years of anger feel small. When he stirred, blinking up at me, his voice was still rough with sleep. You watching me again? I snorted. You snore like a dying bear, hard not to. He grinned, eyes half open. That same lazy, cocky look that used to make me want to both kiss him and throw a pillow at him. You stayed. You had a flood, genius. I wasn't going to let you drown in your own apartment. Romantic, he said, smirking. Really setting the tone for our reunion. I rolled my eyes, but the corner of my mouth twitched. There is no reunion. Right, he said softly. Just breakfast? I hesitated. He looked so damn hopeful I almost laughed. Fine, I said finally, but I'm picking the playlist. No breakup songs, he warned. No promises. He laughed, that same bright, infuriating sound that once broke me and healed me in the same breath. And just like that, the tension cracked open into something lighter. As I made coffee, he wandered over, wrapping a blanket around his shoulders like a cape. You remember when we said we'd get our own place someday? Yeah, I said, pouring the milk. Didn't think it'd be next door. Guess the universe has a sense of humor. Or terrible aim, I muttered. We both smiled. When I handed him his mug, our fingers brushed, just enough to make my heart do that stupid traitorous jump again. He caught it. Of course he did. You're still impossible, I said quietly. And you still love impossible things. I didn't deny it this time. Didn't even try. He looked at me, really looked, and something unspoken passed between us. The kind of understanding that didn't need big declarations anymore. "So," he said, setting his mug down. "Neighbors?" "For now," I replied. "Let's see how long it takes before you flood the place again." "Maybe I'll do it on purpose next time," he teased. "Don't push your luck," I said, but I was smiling. A few weeks later, my friends came over. They took one look at Michael's jacket hanging on my chair and the matching toothbrush by the sink. "Didn't you move here to escape him?" one of them asked. I shrugged, glancing toward the wall that separated our apartments. Or didn't anymore. Yeah, guess I'm bad at directions. And from next door, I heard it. His laugh. That stupid, wonderful, too familiar sound. And for once, it didn't ache. It felt like home epilogue, 6 months later. It's been 6 months since the Great Flood Reconciliation of Apartment 4B. Yeah, that's what we call it now. Like it's a stupid sitcom episode instead of the night everything cracked open and somehow fell into place. We never officially got back together. It just happened. Michael started leaving his charger in my place, then a hoodie, then his toothbrush. And now, somehow, there are always 2 mugs in my sink and one of his socks hiding under my couch. Tonight, he's here again. Stretched out beside me, hair still damp. Wearing that old shirt I used to steal the movies playing, but we're not watching it. It's quiet in the way that makes my chest ache. Soft, dangerous, familiar. He turns to me. "You ever think about how weird this is?" "What?" I ask. "That we went from fighting through walls to this." He gestures between us like, this is something small, not the gravity that keeps pulling me toward him. I laugh, trying to play it off, but he doesn't look away. His voice drops a little. "You still drive me crazy sometimes, Nathan. But it's not the bad kind anymore." I swallow hard. "Yeah?" He nods. "It's the kind where I can't stop thinking about you when you're not here. The kind that feels like home when you are." It hits me then. That warm, breathless kind of clarity that's been sitting in the back of my throat for months. "You love me," I say, like I'm testing it. He grins, a little nervous, a little shy. "Yeah, I do. I love you, Nathan." And everything in me just stops. Like the air forgets how to move for a second. My heart's going insane, but my voice comes out steady. "Say it again." He laughs under his breath, shaking his head, but his eyes stay on mine. "I love you." I grab his face before I can think twice, fingers curling in his hair, and kiss him. Slow, deep, like all the noise finally shut off in my head. He breathes against my mouth, his hand finding my jaw, pulling me closer until there's no space left between us. When we finally break apart, he's smiling that soft, wrecked smile that makes my knees useless. "I was gonna wait till you said it first," he says. "Yeah, well," I murmur, forehead resting against his. "You always were impatient." He laughs, and I kiss him again, just because I can. Because after everything, we made it here. The wall between our apartments is still standing, but now it doesn't divide us anymore. The end. So tell me, if your ex moved in next door, would you start a war? Or fall back into old habits? Thanks for watching. Subscribe to become part of our Rainbow Force, and consider joining our membership for early access and exclusive content. Stay wholesome.